In the last section, we went over building a new Node backend API route. In this video, we're going to start going over Angular end-to-end tests with Protractor, starting with going over PageObjects. So if we go to our website folder files in our SRC front-end section, there's a test folder, and inside of that is an ETE folder, which stands for end-to-end. And we will notice a couple different files and folders here. The .scenarios.js files are the actual different test files that will be run. And then we have this helper folder, this page object folder, and then this no run folder, which is where we can put things temporarily if we do not want them to run. So we're going to start by going over page objects. So just like any other code, we want to modularize our code and abstract away the common things into functions and services. And that's called a page object for an Angular end-to-end protractor test. So if we click on page objects, we're going to start by going over the signup test for creating a new user. So we have this signup.js file. Now if we open up that file, we can see that we can require files. So it's very similar to Node in terms of how we include other files. So // means go back a directory and then go into the helper directory and load config.js. And we can go into that directory. So if we go back into helper config.js, we can see that this file just loads our configuration for us, and we can go through this more later. But the idea is we can include other files from elsewhere, and // means in the same directory. So if we look in our folders back in ETE page object, we have this ete.js file, so that's being included by our signup.js file. And then we have some code that is going to create a random string and an ID with a phone number for our user. So here's our mock user information. And it's really important to namespace things. We'll talk about this a little more later. We're potentially going to be running tests at the same time, and we want to make sure they don't conflict. So we want to have a random string here that's unique. So if this same code is being run more than one time, it's not overriding each other. And then we have this function here that we're going to export. Again, very similar to a backend Node file where we have an object or a function that we declare, and then we have different properties and functions on that, where we're actually going to do the meat of writing our tests and making our expectations. And then we export that, and that makes it available to other files. So we're going to go through all of the actual test code later, but this is just a high-level overview of how to include different files and combine them together so that we have modularized code that we can reuse, so everything's cleaner and easier to maintain. Finally, we'll just look at where this file is included. So if we go into the main folder, we have this signup scenarios file, and we can see right here we are requiring that page object we just went over right here. We're also requiring config and some other helpers here, and we're also requiring a different page object to help us delete a user. And these all get combined into this describe section where we actually write our tests and our it statements, which then call those functions. And you can see this is the actual file that runs all the tests, but it really just makes two calls to those page objects. So again, if we want to sign up a user from a different test, all we have to do is write one line of code. So really basic, dry, do not repeat yourself kind of code. We want to abstract away things into page objects, and by doing that, it makes it a lot easier to write our tests. So in the next video, we are going to take the page object idea we went over here, and we are going to actually dive into that and look at some test code in the page object.